Hey, welcome to another edition of Breaking Protocol from the Razzle Dazzle Show, our ongoing miniseries where we break down key updates and design questions straight from the development of Shade Protocol. These episodes are built around the game's community engagement series Devs Ask You, or DAUs, where Kendall and the team not only show us changing, but invite fans to shape the journey with them. Today we're stepping into newly revealed territory. Stana, the mysterious leader of the Deathletters, a face we've never seen until now, and already one of the most dangerous presence in the game. Be sure to follow us and Little Legendary on our socials and YouTube channel, and be sure to join the Shade Protocol Discord server to follow new DAUs, vote in polls, and share your voice directly with the dev team. Links to everything will be in the description down below, and with all that being said, it's Razzle Dazzle time! Can you tell us about the Death Letter Protocol more and how that is used, or how Stana uses it? Like, what does it mean for Stana to initiate the Death Letter Protocol compared to the normal Death Letters?
So the Death Letter Protocol, as most protocols, they are a set of, we'll call it like, there are certain things that a replica is made out of, right? And they have two things that are very important to them, to a replica. Remember that they're not human, but they're alive. So whenever they are, given a body as a replica, so it's a piece of lithium, this material in our world that's alive. Whenever it's given a body, now it's a replica. It's its own being, and it needs two things in order to be here in this world with us, to be what we call awake, like to be living in this world. It needs two things. So it needs a calling and a function. Like, it needs both things. Like, it needs to have something that it strives to do, and then something that it's role to do in the world. So what it wants to do and what it's made to do. Those things are important to these beings, right? And almost all replicas in our world, they have this innate desire to fulfill their calling and to abide by their function. This is what they are. They're not under indented servitude. They're not slaves. This is what Elysium always wants to be. And you can see it when you see the snacklets, for example. There's a type of enemy in our game that their lore is that they are pretty much pure Elysium made into a living being, like a little metal being. And they are incredibly like pure, and they just want to help. Like, they will do anything they can to they'll be loyal to whoever they meet first, and they will do whatever they say to help them, because in their mind all they want to do is to fulfill their function, right? They want a purpose. So whenever you look at replicas, that's a super long-winded way of saying whenever you get to a replica that becomes it's made to fill the Death Letter Protocol, then those two pieces are there, right? Their calling is death, right? And their function is letter. And when you think letter, you can think about two pieces, right? The wordplay of a letter, an actual written letter, but it's actually not the case. It is letter as in like let, as in allow, as in bloodletting, as in allow, like make that like rip and allow, right? So it's a death letter pretty much is letting you die. But they are also meant to be more of the, because they're snipers, you imagine a bullet, we sometimes say, a love letter to the heart, which is definitely a death letter, right? So it's a lot of little, themes, but in short, these beings have a very interesting lore. I don't want to give you all of it, but part of it is that they are made for it, but they have to choose it. When they choose it, they become part of it in a way that they can't relent anymore. And it overwhelms them. They're still there. So imagine you have a being that, imagine you are you and someone else at the same time. They can never leave you. They're always there. Let's say they're making you do something and you don't want to do it. You'll still do it because you don't have full control of yourself anymore. But you're also still there, hyper aware of everything. You feel everything. You suffer. You cry. Everything, right? So, but then the person, this being that's in you, right? This hive mind that we're talking about, the actual protocol. We're not really talking Stana. Stana's just the head of the Hydra, right? But the truth is that it's the protocol, not her, right? She just has awareness of all of it. By consequence, she feels all of it. So she feels everything from every death letter, all the suffering, all the joy, all the fear, everything, right? So that's why she's very possessive of them. That's why she deeply resents when you fight them or attack them or go against them. She's very protective of the death letters and, what they represent to her. But in the end, she's a hunter and she will use every tool at her disposal to find you. So I guess the way I would frame it is the story is going to be much, much more involved than it sounds with the death letters. They're not just like like I said, some, bunch of like dumb robots just, following a leader, hunting you down. There's going to be some that you're going to meet and maybe they don't want to do what they're doing and you have to deal with that. Maybe some of them like are, beyond broken mentally because of what they've been made to do and they just, they actually now want to do more than the Death Letter Protocol lets them do. But when you know more about the Death Letter Protocol and what it was made to do, I think it'll all start making sense. It is definitely not made to do what it's doing now. That's all I can tell you. Like, it
Interesting.
was meant for something greater. I wouldn't say better, but definitely greater. And it's, I wouldn't say it's being used for a different purpose. So it'll make sense once you hear what that looks like.
Right. I think you're giving us a wider look or insight into how protocols, calls, and functions work within the game. They're not just, power-ups, I guess, for Zura, and they're not just like giving a replica job description. So that's interesting. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into narratively how does Stana work in the game, or at least what you can tell us. So is Stana necessarily an antagonist or a tragedy or tragic character wearing the antagonist mask? You know what I mean?
We'll see. I don't. So I'll tell you this for sure. I'm not gonna have not every single enemy is redeemable in our game. We're not looking for that story where every single like villain you meet like has like their own like redemption arc or you go like, oh well, they were right. Not all of them, right? Stana definitely has like it's gonna make you wonder. It's gonna make you wonder, and I hope that it makes people wonder. And there's a lot to what's going on in her mind and everything that's going on with them. So I think like that will definitely be there to discover. But I assure you that not every villain in the story will just, But I also don't love like evil for evil, because in a world like this one where all these beings are, meant to be hyper capable, right? It wouldn't make a lot of sense that they're just flat out evil. But there's going to be some. There's definitely going to be some that will be more, broken. We'll say, right? There's always going to be a justification, but that might be harder to find, or it might take like not just following the core story. You might have to like go out of your way to find more lore about them or their protocol or what's going on. So, I think most every single villain or whatever we call them, right? Like opposing force, we could call them. They will have their entire story that will be unique and will not represent the exact same value structures and the exact same problems as the others. That's why we won't have as many, right? We will have only, I would say, a good handful of these like strong opposing forces that you will hopefully remember. When the game ends, you'll be able to tell them apart just by how things played out versus just how cool they were or their attacks or the weapons they used. So more on that a little later, but definitely from what you guys know, there's already enough to say that, definitely there's something more than just somebody showing up to hunt you down. There's more to it, and we'll learn about that hopefully not too long into the future.
Then what themes does she embody? Control, grief, inevitability, corrupted hope? What can you tell us? Or is that still too much?
From what you guys know and what we will present like early enough, I think there is a lot to have to do with like purpose, like what's my role, and what must I do. I think there's a lot of that in there. There's also which she shares interesting enough with EOS, like this concept of family, like what's my role as a father or as a mother, like maybe she's not really a mother, but you know, in her mind, she's like, these are her sisters, right? So there's a concept of family there that I think will be interesting for players to kind of perceive and imagine how that could, you know, become a little bit more complicated. There's also like a lot that has to do with, I would say, a different take on a hunter's pride. You know, like there's a lot of that's a part of her inspiration. And if you don't know a lot about that, there's a lot of I've never hunted, but you know, I know a lot of people that do, and there's like a lot of code that is embedded into the mind of the hunter, right? There, at least you know, a hunter that is like a, you know, an ethical hunter, right? So they finish their prey. They don't want to make them suffer. It is. There's always a purpose. They only hunt what they need to hunt. There's a lot of that comes into play. I'm not saying that those are things that Stana is going to represent, but those are values that she's at odds against because, you know, of her role as like the, you know, the prime hunter. So you are going to see a lot of that, like this hunt, this concept of like, you know, am I deserving of being the hunter, right? And you know, but can I tolerate? Maybe there's a little bit of like, do I deserve being the hunter, and if I'm on the right side of history? But then the second that the hunted rebel, can I endure that? Can my ego take that, right? Can I endure, you know, the hunted raising their claws at me? Should I allow that, right? And what does that say about me and about, you know, my role in this world? There's so much of that we'll see. Not necessarily the way I'm explaining it. I'm literally throwing landmines for you guys to step in on purpose. So, but you know, I think a character that has all those problems is an interesting character. Versus a character that shows up and say like, you zoom 360 no scope, you're dead. You know? I don't think that's the character I want to write for sure.
This trailer may have given us only seconds of her appearance, but that was enough to establish Stana as one of the most powerful and intimidating forces in Shade Protocol. A leader, a weapon, and a question mark. We'll be learning more about her soon, but for now, she leaves us with tension, mystery, and a crater to remember. This has been another episode of Breaking Protocol from the Razzle Dazzle Show. Want to help what Shade Protocol becomes? Join the Shade Protocol Discord server to follow new DAUs, vote in polls, and share your voice with the dev team directly. Go follow Shade Protocol on Kickstarter, and if you like this breakdown, check out our past spotlights and interviews with Kendall right here on the Razzle Dazzle Show. Remember, the future of Emeria is still being written.